Hey guys, my name is Shroomy, Mushroom, Shrooms, Shroomster. I have a lot of different names and I just really like lore. So, I feel like I say this every week, but I really wasn't expecting to be making a video on this topic, but once again, as has happened every single week recently, we're making one on this. So, we got an announcement the other day of a Webtoon comic becoming a thing for Overwatch. This is kind of a big deal because Overwatch has never really done a Webtoon comic like this, but what exactly does this mean for those who don't know? Well, this kind of comic gets updated weekly, and it's going to be an ongoing storyline for us to follow in the Overwatch universe, which we've had ongoing storylines before, such as London Calling and New Blood, those kind of comics that came out once every couple weeks, but this one is going to be a much longer form piece of media that's going to be expanding on the Webtoons app. This is a pretty big deal because I think we have a better idea of what their overall goal or plan for the Overwatch universe is and how they're going to be moving the story forward, because I've said in the past there's a lot of different avenues and important story beats that kind of need to be talked about and discussed, but I wasn't sure when we were going to get those story beats. But with this Webtoon comic, I think we're going to be getting a lot of really good moments for Overwatch as an organization, which is a pretty big deal to me. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. What exactly does this comic go over? Well, the first 3 episodes of the comic are available now on the Webtoons app, with 5 more that are locked behind a paywall, which you can spend little tokens to get early, but they'll be releasing 1 per week. So, what exactly happens in the first 3 chapters? Well, it's kind of what we already knew happened, and the story kind of begins where Onron's comic took place at, with the destruction and the attack on Watchpoint Gibraltar. We're going to be breaking that down here first, but before we get too deep into this video and talking about it all, don't forget to like and subscribe. That kind of stuff really helps the channel, and it really lets me know what you guys like to see. Anyways, let's get into breaking down the first couple chapters in the easiest and simplest form I can. In the aftermath of Talon's strike on Watchpoint Gibraltar, the heroes of Overwatch take in their devastating defeat. But Vendetta is far from finished, launching attacks around the world on research facilities, military bases, and major cities. As Sojourn rallies the weary heroes to face Talon wherever they strike, she receives crushing news that calls everything she stood for into question. When the world says it doesn't need heroes, can Overwatch still stand undivided? The story begins with D.Va seeing Juno struggling to set up a banner for the new recruits, and we see Overwatch is getting ready to welcome Onron and Wooyoung, who Brigitte went to go get. Juno takes charge and sets up the decorations around the base, with D.Va reminiscing on how Cassidy brought them to Overwatch in the New Blood comics as well. We get to see a little recap of some of the core characters that are going to be in the comic, with Lucio bringing music for the new recruits, Zarya preparing her workout regime for them, and a really cute moment with Echo preparing a cake from one of Mina Liao's old recipes. Juno begins to explain how, after Null Sector's retreat, Gibraltar and the people within the base felt more like a second home to her, one far from the Mars colony, but just as welcoming and important. We get to see some nice little lore nods here and there, such as Cassidy saying how Reyes recruited him by force to Overwatch, and how Winston escaped the lunar colony to get to Earth. Winston, upon seeing the decorations placed around the room, gets reminded of the old days, and is hopeful for the future of Overwatch now that New Blood is coming in. Later, as Juno is finishing the preparations, suddenly the base comes under attack, as Talon invades Gibraltar. Juno, Cassidy, Baptiste, Genji, and Reinhardt try to defend the control room as best they can, with Juno fearing Null Sector may be involved, but everyone else knows who this is: Talon. With comms down, the team has to move outside to try to get a better understanding of the situation. When they get outside, they see tons of Talon ships arriving. Help soon arrives though, as Tracer and Sojourn arrive. The two are off meeting with the IJC, or the International Justice Commission, to discuss the fate of Overwatch after Null Sector's disappearance. They arrive and help the group defeat the local Talon units, and the Strike Commander Sojourn takes control of the situation. Sojourn meets back up with Winston, who is able to bring Athena back online. With comms down, Sojourn sends Tracer to repair the systems, but Juno insists on tagging along, since back home she would help maintain comm systems. Sojourn agrees, and sends the two off. As they begin to make their way to the comms room, they hear the cries and pleas of Lucio, who they rush to help. But that's kind of the main stuff that happens so far in this comic. This is going to be a reoccurring thing that we're probably going to be talking about on-off at least every other week, so look forward to that. The next chapter is going to be releasing next Wednesday, as chapters seem to be coming out on Wednesdays, so this is going to be something we kind of reoccurringly go back to. And it's going to be really fun to just kind of dissect as things go on. But, of course, if you'd like to read ahead, you're more than welcome to. You can go ahead and pay a little subscription on the website itself. I think it's like 7 coins or like $1.50 USD, and you can go ahead and read the next couple chapters. Anyways, I think this is a good reintroduction to the world of Overwatch, and kind of a really good setting to kind of pick things up with. I really like how in the first chapter, like I said in the recap, we got to see little moments of kind of reintroducing the characters or the core characters that we're going to be seeing a lot of in this story. And as well, I think it's a really good thing to focus on Juno here, since Juno's one of the new recruits and doesn't really know a lot of things, especially with Talon. So it opens up a lot of really good learning ways for the story to cohesively and easily flow, to kind of explain what's going on with certain factions and reintroducing some ideas to the reader. Overall, I do think this is pretty fun since we already saw Onrun's perspective on everything, and now we're getting to see how the other side of things are. I know a lot of people are really worried about Mercy, Bastion, and Fika since they weren't in Onrun's comic, but I'm sure we're going to be seeing them as the comic goes on. It just makes too much sense to kind of show at least everybody once or twice, but I'm really interested to see what's going on with those three, since everybody seems to be fragmented and off on their own, just like in Onrun's comic. Everything with this is really setting up a lot of interesting moving parts, and I think while this isn't the most exciting way to start for a lot of people who have kept up with the lore, this is a really good foundation to begin with, and hopefully things can kind of keep moving forward from here. I'm really interested to see how far this comic's going to go. I've seen people saying there's going to be like 40 chapters or something, which is kind of crazy, so if you know more about that, I'd love to hear it. In general, though, I really like the characterization of Juno in this as well. I think it's a really good moment for her, just kind of standing up for herself and proving herself more to the team, but also seeing how a lot of the side characters and other heroes who haven't gotten to do a lot lately interact with each other. Another really fun moment for me was seeing Echo using one of Mina Liao's old baking recipes to make a cake. I thought that was a really good moment, and little moments like this are kind of what I want to see more of in this thing, because this kind of comic is what I really wanted out of it. But what do I mean by that? Well, I said a couple weeks back, in a couple other videos actually, that the story of Overwatch seems to be going in two directions, and I was really worried about when we were going to pick up with Overwatch as an organization again. I don't know where Overwatch is going to be heading from here, but at least they're going to be getting some kind of story through this ongoing comic run. If the year is called Reign of Talon and everything is Talon focused, every season at least, I was really curious to see what was going to go on with Overwatch. But if they're getting this side story that's going on in the background that's moving their plot forward, at the same time as Talon's kind of gearing up and preparing, that's going to be a really good way to go about things. And I think that's probably the best we could want at this moment. So another part of the comic that is not really focused on fully but is important to bring up is Sojourn talking with the IJC. So the IJC, or the International Justice Commission, are the ones who shut down Overwatch originally. They're kind of the government power that really kind of controls everything that Overwatch does, and they're the ones who allowed Overwatch to come back when Null Sector invaded. But as time has gone on and Null Sector has retreated, the IJC has really been breathing down Overwatch's neck to kind of get them out again. So Sojourn has been in constant discussions with them to try to keep the doors open and kind of keep Overwatch around. Sojourn is probably the best character to do this as well, and is the best to be Strike Commander, since she was one of the people who fought back against Overwatch back in the day and actually worked alongside the IJC to shut Overwatch down. So she's probably the best person for the job to kind of convince them to not shut Overwatch down now. Everything with Talon is kind of a blessing in disguise for Overwatch, because while the synopsis kind of suggests that the IJC is going to be abandoning Overwatch in the future, Talon's actions across the globe will give them an opportunity to prove themselves, and just earn the IJC's support, but also just like the world's support a lot more. It's something that Overwatch is pretty desperately needing right now, just to kind of prove itself, but we're probably going to be seeing where they're going as the story goes on. Another important thing to talk about with the IJC is their presence in the narrative itself is getting a lot bigger recently, and I don't think I'm the only one who's noticed. We are seeing a lot more mentions of them within the last year, and I think this will probably be building up to maybe something like a hero. I've made a video talking about the idea of an IJC hero with the Omnic Detective and the Omnic video I made a little bit ago, so you can go look at that if you want to learn more about that, but yeah, the IJC are slowly becoming a pretty big part of the story, so I wouldn't be surprised if that culminates in a hero at some point. Another moment I thought I'd bring up right here just talking is Cassidy and Genji kind of talk about how Talon kind of slipped into the base, and they talk about how somehow they got through the security systems and were able to attack unprovoked. It's not directly stated anywhere, but it is kind of mentioned that maybe Talon had some kind of help from the inside. I don't know if anyone on Overwatch is going to betray Overwatch for Talon or anything, but it does bring up the idea that maybe there is some type of person helping Vendetta on the inside, or maybe someone or something snuck into the base and was able to drop the security systems down and let Talon sneak in. But that's mostly speculation. I don't think there's a lot we can really go off of with that just yet, so I'll probably be keeping an eye on that plotline and seeing if that goes anywhere in the future in general. But those are just my kind of brief thoughts early on. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about, well, all of this. There's a lot going on here, and I'm going to probably have more to say as the weeks go on. But yeah, are you excited to see the story continue again? Are you interested to read more of this? And most importantly, what do you guys want to see out of this kind of story and everything going on with it in general? Is there a character you want to see mentioned or brought back into the story? Let me know down below. I'd love to see what everybody's theories are. Anyways, those are just my thoughts, and I wanted to let people know this comic really exists at all. I'm really worried this comic is going to kind of be glossed over or pushed under the rug, but if you're a lore fan, I really highly recommend it. Don't forget to read it on Webtoons, and don't forget to support it. I think if we can support this and make it pretty good, hopefully we'll be getting more of it in the future. That's all from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!